I don't know that they were making a commentary on how weird that is to pursue someone until they give up and fuck you. But oh, yes. Oh, God, yes. Welcome back to Is It Still Good? This is the show where we become police officers. We rescue people. Later on, we don't have a memory of it, but then we fall in love and we have sex on limestone. But unfortunately, we leave our rose-colored glasses in the quarry. And it's without them that we are forced with a set of new eyes, and after having came extraordinarily hard, that we have to take a hard, long look at the culture of our past. We have to ask ourselves if it's still good. This is the show with two grown-up film students. We hate growing up. I'm Bear Kennedy. I just arrived in Chicago. I'm fresh off an airplane. I've showered. I've reset myself. I'm ready to rock. I'm wet and wild. And joining me as always,
Andrew Carter, wet and wild as well in Los Angeles. Got a fresh cut. If anybody's watching, shave the head.
I did notice this.
Got rid of all the hair. Needed to for the summer and for the fact that I just was getting kind of tired of the long hair. Zoe shaved my head. God bless her. She did a good job.
She did a great job, at least from here.
Yeah. No, she did.
I mean,
she really did.
That can be hard.
And my favorite part about shaving my head was, I was afraid of this. My favorite part about shaving my head is that there are no signs, knock on wood, of male pattern baldness right now.
Oh, I wish I could say the same, because some of us are deep in that pit already.
Are you deep in that pit?
Pretty deep in that pit. The sides are not bad. The back. I think I'm working on a George Costanza look here in the next
years.
Let's say 7 to 10 years.
Okay. How do you feel about it? Are you okay with it?
I'm fine with it. I don't care what happens to my body. I am not going to change anything cosmetically unless I'm horribly maimed. And even then, I might just deal with it. I'm very much in line with, these are my genes. This is nature.
Right.
I'm not going to fight this. I'm comfortable with who I am.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm saying it's a good thing for me personally is because I was expecting it, and it's not. And the reason I was expecting it is because everyone says you inherit baldness from your mother's father. My mother's father was very bald.
Yes,
but
same.
In doing
real bad.
Yeah, in doing some research, he lost his hair when he was like in his 20s, and I'm about to turn 33, and I still have all of mine. So maybe I got lucky. I don't know.
I've had bald guys say to me if it was going to happen, it would have happened already, and I'm like, I don't know, man. It looks like there's plenty of time to thin this herd out.
Right. I mean, I've always kind of had a big forehead, a 5 head, as they call it. But I mean, I guess, we'll see. But I think similar to you, I think 10 years ago I really cared.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
And I definitely don't care as much now. I mean, I'm happily married. I have a beautiful wife, and it's like that's kind of I gotta say that does change things a little bit in terms of how you care.
Absolutely. I had a doctor give me the hard sell on surgery to fix it. To where he gave me a quote. He was like, "Oh, I will give you the friend price here. It's like $8,000." I'm like, "Whoa. Buddy, I am not. If that's the friend price, fuck me. Yeah. I'm not fucking doing this."
What do they mean? Like, what is the fix?
The fix, as I understand it, and I did zero research. I kind of just sat through this to be polite because I knew it in my heart I would never do it. But he said they take hair from the horseshoe region, for lack of a better term, because that's like balding resistant, and they somehow bribe that hair to move into the topmost regions.
Right.
I don't know how. I'm guessing they pluck some hair out and seed it like you're doing a lawn with sod or some shit.
Yeah, I think like if you care about it and you can afford to do something about it, do it. And if you don't care about it and you don't want to do it, do it. I feel like stuff like cosmetic stuff. I think there was a time when I was younger where I used to be like, don't change who you are, but like, fuck it. If it makes you happy and if you're doing it for you and no one else, then do it. Like,
if it makes you happy, go for it. I think I'd be a little self-conscious if I did it. I feel like I'd think about it a lot more than if I just became bald.
Sure.
And
get it.
you know, I want the option to wear a horrible toupee.
I also feel like you could definitely pull off the bald look with your thick beard, and
I could, yeah, sure.
I think you could.
I
Pull
have a
off.
wonderful cranium.
But then again, I feel like sometimes people say like, oh, I don't know, but like anybody I know who's bald, like they pull it off because that's what they got,
Sure.
That's what they're working with. And we're actually, one of the movies we're talking about today, I guess has a bald character. Shrek
I would
is
consider
bald.
him bald.
Shrek is bald.
I would say so.
So we're doing some counter programming again, guys. We're thick in the summer of movie season right now. It's June 10th. This will be released on Friday, June 11th. And we have reviewed for your pleasure Shrek and Angel Eyes. Now everybody knows what Shrek is. Everybody remembers Shrek. That movie needs no introduction. Angel Eyes is a mid-range cop drama, not even a thriller, a cop drama that let me rephrase it, that dared to open on the same day as Shrek. And there's a reason why no one remembers it. And you know what? It probably has something to do with the fact that it opened against Shrek. But I also think, so I took a lot of notes during this movie, and we'll get to them in a second, but it's funny. I don't remember seeing any trailers for this movie. I don't remember, like, seeing it playing at the theater next door to where I saw Shrek, but I remember the poster. I
remember the poster.
Remember
the white one?
poster. The white one with
white
her eyes, yes.
There's another one that I think is cooler that is featured on the Wikipedia, but that white poster is maybe the thing I most remember about.
That's, like, the only thing I remembered about it. And it's funny because there was a time when there were a couple, like, mid-range, like, mid-budget studio movies that would open against, big blockbuster fare as counter-programming. And I feel like J-Lo was in a couple of them. There was Angel Eyes, and then the following year, I think even, like, the same weekend, she did Enough.
I remember Enough.
And then,
I don't remember seeing it. I remember it coming out.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I remember it coming out. And then I think there was one year where, there were a couple that she did that I think later in the 2000s that maybe didn't get as big of buzz or bigger release or whatever. But anyways, Angel Eyes. I think it was one of the first times that it was just her name above the title carrying a movie, because she had done The Wedding Planner with McConaughey and that did well, and then she had done Out of Sight with George Clooney. But this one was really billed as a Jennifer Lopez vehicle.
Which is distressing.
Yeah, but I gotta say, I don't know what you thought. So first of all, I just want to say that I don't know. I think I figured this out last night, because I think Apple is doing this to compete with Netflix, which is very smart. So if you're listening and if you have an iPhone, I imagine most of our listeners have an iPhone. Or a smartphone at the very least. So on the iPhone, there's this TV app where you can type in any movie and it'll tell you what it's streaming on, if anything. But I've noticed recently that when I type in a movie that's on Netflix, it won't say play on Netflix. It'll say rent or buy it on the iTunes store. And I did that with Starsky and Hutch the other day, but I was like, wait a minute, I was just watching this on Netflix. Did it leave Netflix? And I went to Netflix and it was still there. And so I didn't think about it, but Angel Eyes, I had looked for a couple months, I guess, and I didn't see it anywhere. So I fucking rented it. I paid $4 for this thing. And then I saw that it was on Netflix. During the movie, I was looking up things on IMDb and I saw it was like play on Netflix. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was so mad. But let me just say this.
That's hard. That's a hard $4 loss. It is a hard. That's like buying water at the airport, where it's like, I am now in the poorhouse because of how expensive this was.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate that feeling.
Like $4, that's like 75% of the monthly price of Disney Plus. Like that's I'm so mad. Anyway, but so the one thing I will say, and I'll circle it back to the beginning, but I gotta be honest with you, dude. I thought it had a terrific opening shot. I thought it had a very good opening scene, and but specifically the aesthetic of like coming in through that crack in the windshield and holding, and the camera not cutting for a while. I thought that was really good. I was like, okay, I'm in. This is good. And then of course, very very quickly, I was out. but I thought the opening shot was good. I wanted to get your opinion on that before I go into some more of my notes. But
I didn't have a problem with the opening shot. I know at one point I watched this movie when it was on HBO for the nudity that I perceived would be in it, given that it was rated R.
Oh, there's no nudity at all.
Oh, this is one of the most horribly misrated R movies.
Oh yeah,
it
could have been PG-13.
I really expected to see something.
Yeah,
and there's basically nothing in here. So I remember watching this like late at night, probably with the sound either all the way down or, very close to it, and not enjoying it, but like anticipating maybe I'd see some areola at some point. That clearly never happened. I hated this movie very deeply. I guess that first shot's fine. Am I not supposed to know that Jim Caviezel is the guy that's in there? Because I feel like I knew immediately.
Oh, yeah. Like in the opening scene, you mean? Yeah, of course.
Like
yeah,
they do
right
a
away.
reveal shot 75% of the way through the movie. I was like,
oh, but you definitely, right away. Like, I agree with you.
This.
I definitely was like, are they really trying to... I don't know if they were really trying to hide it, but who knows? Maybe they were. But I knew it right away as well. I mean, like the minute you see him later, you're like, yeah, okay, that's the guy. But the other notes I took in the beginning, it occurred to me, and again, we didn't see this in theaters, obviously, and I really want to know. I would love to meet someone who like went and saw this on opening night. Like,
I wrote down almost the exact same thing. One of my notes was, I really want to meet someone who this is their favorite movie.
Yeah, I do too.
I want to meet that person so bad.
I do too, but I want to know someone who's like, oh, we dropped the kids off at Shrek next door with the babysitter, and we went and saw Angel Eyes. Like, I would love to know that. But okay, so
yeah, magic at the multiplex.
Yeah, and so Zoe was in like at the counter on her computer or something, and so she was like there. This was in the background for her, but I made a point to announce this, and even she was like, "Oh wow, that's not good." But if you notice, the movie, like, on the it was distributed by Warner Brothers, but there's no Warner Brothers logo before the movie.
I have some background research. To this
okay. Go, because it only says Franchise Pictures.
Right.
My assumption was that Warner Brothers hated the movie so much that they took their name off the home video release. But
that's a great assumption. I think you are wrong. What I was able to find, and I can get this link up. This is on a website I've never visited, bombreport.com.
Oh, I've never visited it either.
This goes into talking about how Angel Eyes was financed by the infamous Franchise Pictures and the German-based Entertainment. Entertainment sued Franchise in December 2000 for fraudulently inflating the budgets for their movies so that Entertainment ended up shouldering more than 47% of the production costs they contractually agreed to cover.
Oh, wow.
I am very, very sure that this movie was a money laundering scheme, having seen it.
Yeah.
And with this background, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
It is. What do we have here? It opened just under $10 million.
Yeah, but it cost what?
With a reported budget of 38.
Yeah, that doesn't
which is
add up.
Fucking crazy. None of that is on screen.
Yeah, 38 million. And again,
no.
J-Lo at that time, I mean, I imagine like maybe a $5 million payday. I don't know, but like,
yeah, that would be fair. I mean, I hope they paid her a lot more given how much money.
I hope they paid her fairly for sure, but like,
yeah, that's good and cool if she got a lot of that cash.
Right.
But this thing, I guess,
it looks
just
like
moving.
Shit.
Yeah, going down a little bit. It said Warner Brothers handled the domestic release for most of the garbage that Franchise produced.
Wow.
And originally dated Angel Eyes for late July, but moved it up to May 18th to compete with Shrek.
To compete, yeah. I really wonder if they thought it was going to do well. I mean,
it did bullshit overseas, and the Entertainment lawsuit was successful. They were awarded a $77 million judgment against Franchise.
Wow.
So there's a lot about this movie that I hate. Almost everything, to be frank. But one of the things that's weird is it's very, very clearly not shot in Chicago, where it's
supposedly takes place. 100%.
One of the worst stand-ins for Chicago.
Vancouver or Toronto or somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it was Toronto. It looks like shit.
Yeah.
There's almost no special effects on screen. There's one drive-by that is so out of context. It's one of the most wasted drive-by shootings I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it never comes
squibs,
back.
But that's it. The only thing actually one of the only things I like about the movie is the drive-by, where like two guys roll up on these cops at a bar. They shoot them all up.
They're not even at a bar. They're at a diner.
Yeah, it's so far from a real experience of Chicago or any city that it has this weird uncanny valley type thing where it's like I don't know where this thing is fucking taking place. Anyway, there's a drive-by shooting. A couple guys get shot. They get all pissed. The cops they get shot at, and then like the next scene, they're at another bar and a dude's in a sling. And they're like, man, that drive-by shooting sucked ass. Good thing we have this backup restaurant that we also go to. I thought that was amazingly funny. That might have been the only thing I liked.
It was. I was like, wow, they got over that fast. And then they get a call on their phone. They get a call.
They're like, hey, we can still make lunch.
Yeah, and then they get a call on their phone. They're like, he's going to be okay. Like the one that's not with them at the bar that was there. It's like,
all right, we're all good. I had to take a couple bullets, but no big deal.
Another note I took in the beginning is once we saw Jim Caviezel when he like yells at the guy. So I took two notes. One is I wrote he's dead or J-Lo's dead. One of them is dead the whole time, which I was.
That I wish.
I know I wasn't right, but I was like that would have been amazing. But I thought Jim Caviezel's introductory scene was solid, and I wrote, "Damn, what a fucking actor." Because I was kind of like,
he can't act. He
I know.
Cannot act.
I'm getting there. Okay. I thought that scene was good, and I was like, what a fucking actor. And again, I'll get to it, but throughout the rest of the movie, I kept writing notes like, okay, he's actually not that good. And then I was like, I wrote like, now Jim is sucking. And then I wrote, wow, he's awful, wooden, like a fucking robot. Literally, it doesn't work. And so I don't know what happened. J-Lo's date in the restaurant. I'm just gonna go through my notes because this is just
just hit me with it because
I'm just gonna hit you.
I
with
like
it.
what I'm hearing, and just give me the stream of consciousness.
So I've done all the J-Lo's date looks like the poor man's Dominic West.
Great pull.
Yes. Yeah, in the opening, and then when it shows her going to her routine, J-Lo doesn't sleep; she just sits and waits to be a cop. And then I wrote Terrence Howard, great fucking actor with nothing to do in the movie.
Nothing. An early sighting though in his career though.
And then I wrote this, Jim Caviezel's neighbor in the apartment complex.
Yes.
I wrote this mom has a move with her kid when she wants to fuck someone. Like she's like,
she does.
Remember, she's like, Tommy was just about to go to bed, weren't you, Tommy? And he like kind of. He's not like, what? He's not shocked. This has happened before. They've had this exchange before.
Which is interesting character depth for a complete side character that goes nowhere. That's very interesting you picked up on that. I didn't till you just mentioned it now. But if you wanted to show that someone like that was sleeping with dudes potentially for money, that's a great way to show it.
It is a great way to show it. I agree.
Actually kind of at odds with how bad the rest of the movie is.
I agree.
It's actually very good.
I agree. Okay, and then I wrote, quote, it's been so long, it's been 10 years, you're still scared of him, Exposition City, which is a line that J-Lo says to her brother.
That's because none of the movie makes sense.
Yeah, and then I wrote, lady cops, my God, the shit they deal with. Which is pretty outrageous. I mean, I'm sure that's accurate. Of like every time they're arresting someone, they're like, "Yeah, come here, fuck titties" or whatever. Like it's ridiculous.
My counterpoint would be they're a cop, so they deserve it.
That's probably true. And then I wrote in all caps, and then he saves her, which because he saved her. And then I wrote, and then we learned who this woman is later. But the old woman in the wheelchair who Jim Caviezel goes to visit, I said that she's one of the worst actors I've ever seen. And then right after that, I wrote, now Jim is sucking. I wrote, this country music montage. I wrote, dude, Jim is so creepy, pounding on the door, hitting in the face with the pillow. These interactions with them are fucking bizarre. And then I wrote, it's like I'm texting someone, but I'm literally writing all this down. I wrote, dude, this is insane. It started pretty standard, like a pretty by the numbers cop drama, and it's turned into one of the weirdest fucking movies ever. The tone is indecipherable. This director has a really fumbled grasp of it. It's like, and then I wrote this. It's like The Room, and then I wrote this at the. It's. I wouldn't say it's like exactly like The Room, but in terms of a traditional studio film, it's probably the closest one to resemble The Room that I've seen in recent memory.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I don't think it's like The Room. I think The Room benefits, and actually the main draw of it is that you get a look into the mind of someone who is unlike any other human being on Earth.
That's a good point.
He is a fascinating outsider as far as just lived human experience, and that's what makes The Room good. This movie, some of the reviews were positive, including Ebert's, which I did not appreciate.
Did he give it 3
stars? Some of the reviews, he did. He really praised Jennifer Lopez, and I don't disagree. I think she's actually very good. Yeah,
she's good.
But I agree with everything about the tone of this movie that you said. Not only what you said, but I watching it in the beginning, you have a feeling of, is this going to be a supernatural movie?
Right.
Is this going to be, it's kind of clearly not going to be a rom-com.
Right.
But is there going to be something else going on? Is there going to be something sinister beneath the surface? Is there going to be something otherworldly?
Yeah.
Where are we going? And some of the reviews I read that were positive were like, pointed out, oh no, it's just a straightforward romantic movie. And it kind of subverts your expectations from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, this is a movie that definitely subverts expectations. If your expectation is a movie should be good, because this movie is ain't.
Yeah.
I thought it's just so weird, that jumble of tones that then leads to a scene where Jim Caviezel delivers way too long of a monologue at a grave
about,
and while J-Lo's doing the same thing into a camera.
Yeah.
It is brutally bad.
It feels like it felt like a film student's first screenplay. Like
I was gonna say that too. I thought, I was in the shower just now, and I had this thought congeal in my mind as I was throttling my penis.
Good Lord.
I was taking a shower. What do you want? But
do you beat off in the shower?
Not always, but I needed to beat off and take a shower so we could record in time. So I had to
oh my God.
I had to get 2 things in at once. Anyway, that's where I do my thinking. But I agree. I thought that this movie resembled a student film in the way that if you watch a lot of student films, as you and I have, one of the worst things that happens,
and make them terribly like we have.
When you make it, and I'm not saying I ever made one that was good. I've only made ones that were bad.
Yeah, I can't speak for you. I can speak for me, and I suck.
You've made better ones than me, for sure. You've made some that were good. When you make a student film, one of the pitfalls you can get into is that if you don't have a real urgency to tell a story in the cinematic medium, it takes on the feeling of an assignment, right? Because it is very literally, I have to do something or I will fail the class.
Yep.
So you have if you sit through a lot of student films, maybe you'll see a good one every once in a while, but you'll see a lot of stuff that has like no narrative urgency and just like scenes that just happen, and like characters that, a legitimate question is, how the fuck did you get this far in life if you act this way? Like fucking Jim Caviezel's Catch. No way would that guy be that old acting that way. He would have been killed.
Yeah.
Or in a mental institution.
Right.
He would never arrive at the point he's at.
Right.
He plays that role as if he was born yesterday, and that's the only way the character makes sense at all.
Yep.
And you see that a lot in student films because you just have to make something. And this is very much in that same vein of, we got to make a movie, and this is kind of the broad strokes of what's going to happen. And maybe you have a good idea of how to begin a movie. Like this one kind of has an idea of how to begin it, right? 2 people kind of, at least in the one guy in Caviezel's case, went through some traumas, having trouble with it, meet someone else who's dealing with a similar thing, and they heal together. That's not a terrible idea, but executed in this way, it's awful. It just never goes anywhere. It loses all steam. By the end, you want to fucking pry your eyes out.
Yeah.
And luckily, most student films aren't this long. But I'm happy you said that, because I had that exact same thought.
Well, what's interesting is I agree with everything you just said, and not only, and another thing that you didn't mention, but I'm sure you thought of this. But another thing that you see in student films is stuff like this, and it's all cookie cutter. And that's exactly what this was. And, like, Jim Caviezel's performance was cookie cutter. And I don't necessarily know if I blame him or the director
I
or
blame
both.
Him.
I feel like, I think I blame both, because I think that, like, if you hire someone to do a job, then, yeah, they're doing the job. But it's also the director's job to guide them and guide their performance. And this is clearly what that director wanted. And
it has to be, because it's a very consistent.
It's consistent. It's consistently fucking batshit. And I also want to know, like, what does this kid in the building think of Ketch? Like, the kid never talks. Does he just think, like, oh, who's this nice weirdo that lives in my building? Like,
see, when a movie's this boring, you think about that kind of shit with the characters, because you have nothing else to do.
Because you're not invested. Yeah, because you're not invested.
Yeah.
And I think, like, ultimately, the last two notes, I guess few notes I want to say, is that there was one scene when J-Lo goes to her brother's house, and how after he's hit his wife, and J-Lo is like, what the hell happened? And the way that she delivered the way that her sister-in-law delivers this next line, I don't know if you caught it, but she said, yeah, well, we had a fight. People fight, you know? It was so fucking funny, like, inadvertently. And then, there was a lot of, like, domestic violence apologists in these. A
lot of that.
I did not care for that at all. Just a lot of bullshit. I thought the minute monologue that Jim Caviezel gave was just atrocious. And then,
horrible. But
the cut to him making the funny face in the car killed me. Like, in the flashback, I was just like, geez, that was poorly placed.
That was very, very bad.
And then, like, the car crash scene, even. It didn't even look that bad.
The funniest shit was that the kid braced so hard for it.
I know.
And clearly didn't make it, but, like, no, everyone else was so unaware. The kid is like, you're driving into a fucking
I know, the kid
truck.
knew, and, like, of course he didn't make it, but the eponymous song at the end, with Angel Eyes, the fact that it was country in the freeze frame. And the last thing I said, this movie, and I think this is even putting it nicely, this movie is the poor man's Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, I think that's giving
if you think
way more credit.
I agree, and I think what I really mean, I think, is that Jim Caviezel's performance is the poor man's Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea, because he's
Jim Caviezel.
It's supposed to be this guy who's like, he just has nothing left or whatever, and, like, Manchester by the Sea, the nuances are just spectacular, and it feels, I don't know, it's almost a fucking perfect movie in my opinion.
I love that movie.
It's an amazing movie.
But I think Jim Caviezel, I think he can't act, actually. I think he's not miscast here. I just think it's a terrible movie. It's actually cast correctly for that character. But he is doing the exact same performance that he did in The Thin Red Line.
Which I have not seen.
It might be...
But, yeah. Okay.
That's going to fuck up my reference point. But imagine this performance in a guy in the Pacific Theater of World War II. But in The Thin Red Line, it's interesting because he has that weird baby-like innocence where it honestly seems like he's from another fucking planet.
Right.
And in The Thin Red Line, his character's journey is one where he's very much at odds with the war going on around him. He's kind of more tuned into nature. He wants to live among the indigenous people in the Pacific Islands. He thinks that's man's natural habitat. And a bunch of the other characters and motivations in the movie are the exact opposite of that, kind of making the point that war is man's natural habitat. And that kind of plays out throughout the movie, and it's very, very good. I really recommend that movie. Jim Caviezel has a lot of screen time in that film, and it's this performance. He looks out of place. He's weird. He's, like, constantly kind of baffled. He's always doing this face, like... Like all
but
the
is
fucking
it so
time.
are you saying it's bad in both movies?
Not bad. No, it's good. It fits The Thin Red Line.
Okay.
In this movie, it kind of fits, but I don't buy anything that happens with him getting involved with a woman like that.
Yeah, and also, how many times in the in Angel Eyes is he being fucking weird and J-Lo's apologizing? What the fuck is that about?
All the time, constantly.
Bullshit. Yeah, this movie gets a 0 out of 10. Like
this is there. I will watch movies that are not good, and we've talked about this before, for things that I think are gonna be worth seeing. Like I will watch a movie I don't like because there's like one practical effect that I want to see, or like some stunt work that I think is good. Like we talked about A Knight's Tale. I'd watch A Knight's Tale all day, every day.
Oh God, this makes A Knight's Tale
purely for the stunts.
This makes this makes A Knight's Tale look like fucking Fargo.
It does. It really does. It makes A Knight's Tale look really nuanced and great. Yeah. And A Knight's Tale is a movie about guys on horses poking each other.
Yeah. And I didn't like A Knight's Tale, but I thought that at least there were some like decent scenes in it.
I agree. And this movie, it's not even the kind of bad movie where there's anything weird, except for that drive-by and the following scene, which is very funny. Right. But you can't even watch this for the wrong reasons. There isn't nudity. Yeah. There is a sex scene. It is.
It's weird. They're like on top. Yeah, they're on top of like a cliff in a park, and it's like
and they're like sitting up, and it's a weird position. I don't believe it.
The other thing I was gonna say, the other thing I was gonna say, and then we can move on to Shrek, is like, I feel like I'm almost resentful of a movie like this because I feel like I don't think anybody remembers this movie or thinks about it, but like if you think about why studios are risk averse and why they don't make mid-budget movies like this anymore, it's because, you know, everything is so saturated with content, and the stuff that really makes tons of money is the stuff that costs a ton of money, like the Marvel movies and stuff. Sure. And like movies like this, like movies like Angel Eyes suck, and they probably convince studios to be like, yeah, we never want to touch things like that. But again, when there's something like Manchester by the Sea, you're like, oh my God, this is perfect. We need movies like this. And yet, I mean, I don't necessarily look. I'm not sitting here blaming Angel Eyes. Again, I think it's so forgettable that nobody. I feel like there is nobody in the world talking about this movie right now except you and I. I promise you, we are the only two out of the 7 billion people on the planet right now talking about this movie.
I will give you a couple notes I had, and then we gotta.
Yeah, I want to hear your. Yeah, you have the last words.
My first note was, this is like a movie they would rent on Seinfeld. The most boring movie to feature drive-by shooting. Yep. I spent a lot of time looking up the Flowbee. That's true, I did, because it features prominently.
What is that again?
That's the haircut vacuum.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to know what that is, that's in here. I wrote, it's difficult to find a place I've never been kissed at this point in life. I think at one point someone says I've never been kissed there before.
No, they say kiss me somewhere I've never been kissed.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm 33. Like, I've kind of been kissed everywhere.
Right. It's like where do you want it? Your armpit?
It's even there. I think I've had. It's gonna be. It's gonna be real weird if it's kiss me somewhere I've never been kissed. It's gonna be like
that's fucking weird.
The exact center of the arch of my foot or something. Even that I might have gone to. I think you live any kind of sexual life, you're going to run out of spots to be kissed.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the last thought I had was, as I'm watching this movie, I was just thinking, like, at a certain point, the editor was looking at all this footage and thinking, oh my God, like, there's a million scenes that just never end. It's just two people talking in a room, and I've got no narrative thrust.
Right.
It's like, this guy must have been pulling his hair out.
Oh, yeah.
The editor of this movie is Gerald B. Greenberg, who is a real one. He edited, among other things, American History X.
Oh, wow.
Awakenings, The Accused, The Untouchables.
Whoa.
Scarface.
All right.
Kramer versus Kramer. One of the editors credited on Apocalypse Now, who's not Walter Murch, so he's probably early on.
Wow.
And then also The French Connection.
Holy shit, French Connection is a brilliant movie.
Yeah, and that's the other, and the original Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Wow. Okay, so he's
an old school Hollywood guy.
He's a great editor. Sure. Yeah, this movie ain't his fault.
I don't know. At least he's dead.
I feel like
now,
if a movie,
I don't know how he dealt with
if
this.
a movie is this bad, it's the script.
Oh, this is 100%.
Like it's the script and the director. I think it's the script and the director. I feel like it's the script for sure, but then the director. I feel like again, like just some of the choices he made are so bizarre and weird and nothing to do with. The last thing I'll say about it, Victor Argo, the guy who played J-Lo's dad,
Yes.
I was as I was watching him, I was like, I'd love to meet someone who like this guy was their favorite actor. Like, and not only that, that referenced this movie. You know,
Yeah, he's a Victor Argo completionist.
yeah, like, you know who I love? I love this. I love Victor Argo. There was this, you know, that movie Angel Eyes. Like, there's a great scene, but the reason I thought that is because I thought he was probably like the best one in the movie in terms of his performance.
Jennifer Lopez is great, but
she is great. That's true. But I'm talking about like the side characters, like because he actually like I don't think Terrence Howard had anything to do. I don't think
nothing to do.
But like Victor Argo actually had like a dramatic, emotional couple of scenes, and they were really good, and he was really good in them. Anyway, let's talk about Shrek. We all saw Shrek in theaters. I saw it opening. I'm pretty sure I saw it opening day. I know it was opening weekend, but I'm pretty sure I saw it opening day. I remember getting the Baskin Robbins ice cream. That movie was fucking everywhere. I might have even seen it twice in theaters, frankly. But I gotta be honest, I had not watched it in over a decade. It might have even been since it, like, when it first came out on DVD. I had not seen it in a very, very long time. And I don't know if I should share what I thought as a whole now or wait to get to it. I mean, what do you? I don't know.
I'll tell you. I don't think I saw this in the theater. I don't remember seeing it in the theater. I remember thinking at the time I was like maybe a little too old for this kind of deal. And
you had just turned 13.
Yeah, I had a buddy I was playing Little League with, and he was like, "Oh, Shrek's fucking hilarious. You got to see it. It's awesome."
Yeah.
And I know I saw it on DVD. I own it on DVD. I actually watched the DVD I had of it for this screening.
Oh wow.
I don't remember the Baskin Robbins thing, but green is kind of a fun color. I could see that.
Yeah. I forget what the flavor was, but it was. I mean, it was ubiquitous, dude. They had Shrek everything.
They had Shrek all over town. But I did remember feeling like I was on the cusp of like, okay, am I a little too old to be watching an animated deal that's like rated PG, especially when you're 13? It's like we talk about this all the time on the show, but all of my effort was trying to see shit that was rated R that my parents didn't want me to see at that age. And Shrek was definitely, if not age appropriate, a little probably younger skewing than I was at the time.
Right, sure.
But tell me all of your Shrek thoughts.
Okay. So all right, I'm just going to tell you what I thought of it. I thought it was fucking awesome, and I thought it held up. I really did. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed it. I was half expecting to be like, all right, this might not be quite as good. But I do think Monsters, Inc. should have won Best Animated Feature instead of Shrek. I think Monsters, Inc. is a masterpiece. I think Shrek is awesome, but I don't think it's on Monsters, Inc.'s level.
Are we going to talk about Monsters, Inc. This summer?
You know, I was thinking about that. We probably could, but like, I mean, there's no dispute whether or not that movie's still good. Like,
I agree with you.
Like, there's just that movie is a fucking 4-star masterpiece. Like, it is an excellent film.
If we can get an interesting guest, I'd be down. But I kind of I remember it the same way. I get.
I watched that
Shrek
movie like once every couple of years. Like, Zoe and I watched it. That was the first movie we watched when we moved into our house. We were like, let's put on a movie while we unpack, and we watched Monsters, Inc. And then we stopped unpacking and watched the movie.
Yeah,
it's that good.
I remember Monsters U because I think I've seen that a couple times more recently, which I personally really like.
You do? Oh man, I did not like.
There's some jokes in there that I really enjoyed.
I didn't. There was a review of that movie when it came out that called it alarmingly lame, and I couldn't agree more. Oof. I was like, this is like, not only is it
that's
not
a
good,
murder.
Yeah, not only is it not good, I'm like, oh shit, there's trouble at Pixar. We gotta figure this out. But I love Monsters, Inc. But anyway, Shrek. Okay. There are tons of sex jokes and dick jokes, and I wonder if some of those were Mike Myers. I wonder if if they were kind of tapping into the Austin Powers, hit, because Mike Myers was huge back then. But here's the irony. Austin Powers, especially the first one, and I admittedly haven't watched the second or third in a while, but I did recently rewatch the first one, and it holds up great, and it's not dated. Like, it's not dated. It's not, I guess there are some pop culture jokes.
It's a period piece.
Right.
It's a period piece.
Right.
Even at the time, it's a period piece.
Right.
Because it's a fish out of water.
Exactly.
In what was the present day, but that there's a theory that every movie's a period piece eventually.
Right.
But that movie specifically, it's about being a product of your time so much.
Right.
That I'm sure it reads as a 90s period piece now.
Right. And that's true. And I guess there were some elements of Shrek that I guess felt mostly maybe like the Smash Mouth stuff, like that felt a little dated because it was like
oh shit.
It was and like some of the jokes felt a little dated because they were like pop culture jokes, and it was kind of like, oh, all right, like they're tapping into the Austin Powers thing, and Austin Powers isn't dated, but in doing so, it kind of dated Shrek a little bit. But that's a very minor criticism. I actually thought a lot of the jokes worked. I thought it was funny, and I totally forgot that. I knew that that Princess Fiona was an ogre, but I didn't know. I totally forgot that she knew she was an ogre and trying to break the spell. And Zoe reminded me. Zoe was like, "Remember, she hates herself." And I thought that was such an interesting theme, because the theme of like, you know, if you really break it down, it's like hating yourself, body dysmorphia, self-image, dysmorphia. It's like they really got deep in there, and there were some scenes that like got me. You know, I didn't cry or anything, but like they got me emotionally, where I was actually moved. Like when Shrek's like, they judge me before they even know me, and then when when there's that montage of them separated and they're playing Hallelujah. And let me just tell you something. So it's obviously Hallelujah, for those of you that don't know, it's a Leonard Cohen original. He's the original artist.
In case you've never heard
In case you've never heard it. But here's the thing. A lot of people know, I think the most like ubiquitous version is Jeff Buckley's. And in Shrek, they use John Cale's cover. John Cale's cover sounds a lot like Jeff Buckley's. So funnily enough, this version of Hallelujah was probably the first version of Hallelujah I ever heard as a kid, but I didn't remember it. But when I was in high school, maybe about 3.5, 4 years later, I watched the OC a lot, and they used Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah in the OC, in the season 1 finale, and it is amazing. Like, it is one of the best pieces of music to a TV show I've ever seen, and it's iconic, and everybody that knows Jeff Buckley's version who watched the OC remembers that moment. And I just thought it was interesting that, like, I had heard this version of Hallelujah first in my life, but I was 12, and then watching it again when I was like 15 or 16, I heard the same song, albeit a slightly different version of it. But I remember, that's when I hear that song Hallelujah, I think of the OC, and I guess I'm wondering why I didn't think of this version. Maybe it's because I was too young. Maybe the cover was a little different.
Yeah, that's interesting. This was probably the first version I heard of that song as well, but I did have a roommate at one point who was super into Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know who Jeff Buckley was, and he ended up giving me like a life history of Jeff Buckley because he was fucking into it.
Yeah.
And he legitimately believed that Jeff Buckley was an angel. Like, that was a belief that he had as a person. And I think about that a lot still now, because Jeff Buckley kind of drowned in weird circumstances. And he had this whole theory about how he was actually an angel from heaven.
Well, people have theories that Kurt Cobain was murdered. I mean, like, you know, there's...
That's true. That one is a little more believable than Jeff Buckley is a part of the Seraphi. But
yeah, that's true.
I think about that every time I hear Jeff Buckley's name. So now I've poisoned everyone's mind.
Yeah. The last thing I remember, the match cut of Fiona seeing the birds' eggs and then them being cooked. I remember
unbelievably funny,
hilarious,
unbelievably funny.
And I remember that in the theater. I remember that reaction in the theater. People were like, "Oh my god!" Like they couldn't believe it. But two other things I want to talk about. First of all, I completely forgot about the Robin Hood scene, and I wrote in my notes, I totally forgot about the French guy, and then I wrote, "Turns out it's Robin Hood," just because I just didn't know. And dude, when she kicks their asses, she kills Robin Hood. Like she hits his head into a rock. That's severe head trauma. He's dead. Like there's.
Does he show up in the later films?
I don't know, but I mean,
I don't remember.
If he does, they're bringing him back from the dead because that is severe head trauma.
Is it canon that she kills Robin Hood? Is what
I mean. I mean, if you're asking a fucking doctor, I'm not a doctor, but if you're asking a doctor, she killed that guy. It's his head into a boulder. He's gone. And the other thing I forgot, like, it's a really good script, and I wasn't surprised to read this. It was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, as it should have been. It's a romantic comedy. Like, I completely forgot that it's a romantic comedy. I love their connection. But the one other thing that I thought, and Zoe and I were both commenting on this, and we were both kind of shocked. So, I guess he eventually is okay with it, but Donkey is definitely raped. He is sexually assaulted by the dragon. And he calls it out. He literally says, hey, that is unwanted physical contact. He's fucking sexually assaulted.
It's interesting. I mean, the way that the dragon... Does the dragon have a name? Or is it just a dragon?
I don't think she has a name. I think he eventually, like, comes around and falls in love with her.
He does, but that dynamic is very typical, usually reversed in kind of fairy tales or older stories where a dude relentlessly pursues a lady and she eventually gives into it. In this case, it's reversed.
Right, that's true.
Which this is very much ahead of the issues of the day, but it's interesting to flip the gender roles there. I don't know that they were making a commentary on how weird that is to pursue someone until they give up and fuck you. But it's interesting that they do it.
Jesus Christ. The wording of that is so good. But it's true. I agree. That is. I don't think that's what they were doing either, but like that is what happened. And again, I think the gender flipping was smart. But no, Zoe and I were both watching it and we were like, oh my God, this is very rapey. And then Donkey literally says, hey, that is unwanted physical contact. And Zoe and I both looked at each other like, oh, like there it is. And so those are my notes on Shrek. I'll have you know that both of these movies, I feel like I'm starting to catch I'm starting to like pick up on a trend here that I should do this more. I was high. I smoked some sativa. And I was very focused and picking up on a lot of things. And it kind of enhanced the experience, more so than I expected to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that I'll watch Shrek sober and hate it. I'll still really like it, but it's interesting. Anyways, that's my thought. I thought Shrek was fucking awesome. I thought it held up better than I expected it to. I still think Monsters, Inc. is better, and it should have won the Best Animated Feature Oscar.
I took an edible for Shrek. It didn't really hit till the end, and then I watched Angel Eyes right afterwards, and I fell asleep so fucking hard.
Oh, no.
I had to rewind and watch, 40 minutes of
I was
Angel
worried
Eyes
that was going to happen,
again.
but I fought through it.
Oh, it definitely happened.
Yeah.
The weirder thing about Shrek that you didn't bring up is that not only was it nominated and won, I believe, the first...
It was the first ever. Animated. Yeah, it was.
It screened in competition at Cannes in 2000.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I read that before I watched it again. And I was like, that's kind of weird for a movie like this. Like, generally, maybe you'd have a movie like this premiere at Cannes. Like, I remember, I think Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda premiere there. The Simpsons movie had a premiere there. Yeah.
But usually it's not going to screen in competition. To have it screen in competition is a big deal for this kind of big Hollywood blockbuster. Usually they're like, okay, you can premiere it here, but you're not in the fucking competition.
Yeah,
it didn't win anything, but it's very interesting to me that it's screened in competition. But then watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, 20 years ago, this is a pretty serious new direction for an animated movie to go.
Oh, yeah.
And
the subversive comedy.
Shit. Yes.
Yeah.
And gets into some shit that is almost seen as, kind of sacred ground as far as classic fairy tales and stuff like that.
Right.
I watched it again. I hadn't seen it in a long time. You're absolutely right about the Smash Mouth. That is the worst shit about this movie.
Yeah.
But it does kind of endearingly date it to that period.
Yeah, and I didn't mind that.
And
I actually like All Star still. I don't care what anyone says. It's not catchy. And I loved the ending with I'm a Believer. I thought it was awesome.
It does fit. It's just
totally
you can't
fits.
hear Smash Mouth and be our age without being like, Jesus Christ, it's fucking Smash Mouth.
Right.
The stuff I liked about the movie, I liked how, just first off, the main plot of this movie is that the prince is reenacting the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but with mythical beasts of the forest. And he's doing ethnic cleansing into the swamp.
Oh,
which,
my God.
At this time of year, I was like, wow, this is incredibly prescient to the times we're in.
Wow.
That's funny. I don't think I understood the Farquad fuckwad joke until now.
I didn't understand it until you just said it.
Yeah, which makes me feel stupid. I can't get enough of now I can't remember his name. John, who voices him?
John Lithgow.
From fucking John Lithgow. From I wanted to say Graham for some reason. From Cliffhanger and fucking Ricochet. I love John Lithgow. He's perfect.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he's a great cast and a great voice casting, and that guy's awesome. He's such a good actor.
I feel like I forgot about the Robin Hood thing too. That shit is hilarious.
Oh, I laughed so hard. I completely
them going
forgot
into
about
Riverdance is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I loved it.
I think that's great. I wanted to hate this movie so bad when I watched it.
See,
this time.
why did you want to hate it?
So I thought there's no reason that it's that good. I haven't seen it in a long time. I probably remember it as being better than it is. I'm guessing some jokes have aged poorly. Mm-hmm. I just figured it was one of those things where it was probably so of the moment that I'm not going to enjoy it.
I didn't want to hate it, but I had those similar thoughts. I was like, there's no way this is as good. Like Best Animated, really, But like, I gotta say, I still think Monsters Inc. should have won, but Shrek did surprise me with how awesome it was, and I was like, all right, not mad it won Best Animated Feature.
No, I think Monsters Inc. is much more safe of a picture. I think Monsters Inc. is a much more expected type on-brand Pixar movie, and Shrek at this time was fucking left field.
It was, yeah. That's probably what did it.
But dude, I know that there's been some hate on Shrek recently, which I've enjoyed. There is a article in The Guardian by Scott Tobias who absolutely roasts it. Shrek at 20, an unfunny and overrated low for blockbuster animation. I wish I agreed with his article. I don't. The movie works for me.
Yeah.
Really well. I think the message and the themes are great. I think the voice acting
beautiful. Yeah.
Is awesome. I don't have a problem with the animation. It's dated. It's 20 years ago. I really don't have a problem with it.
See, I didn't even think the animation was that dated. I thought it still looked great.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either,
Scott Tobias's main thing seems to be that Shrek kind of opened the door to make animated movies nothing more than like cast some well-known actors, have some fart jokes, and leave the rest behind, and you'll probably have a hit. Yeah. I do not have that take on Shrek. I wish I hated it enough to agree with this article. I think it's a good article. Yeah. I don't agree with it.
See, I think that about Shark Tale, and I think that about Kung Fu Panda. Yes. Like, I think that about those two movies didn't do it for me. But
and
Shrek
I think
did.
I think he's making the argument that those movies came into being because of the success of Shrek.
That's fair.
So now we've been fed this line of bullshit that's kind of not great by, these studios who just wanted to replicate the Shrek formula. The only thing I liked in this article is that he does call the use of Hallelujah, I think, unearned gravitas, which is a great way of describing that song. I would say placed anywhere. I think you kind of can't use that one anymore.
Oh, I love that song.
If you ever could.
Here's the thing. I think
it's doing a lot of the emotional heavy lifting.
That's true.
A lot of the times.
That's true, and that's fair. But I think because this was 2001 and then like OC was 04, I agree. I think if someone used it now, might not quite work. But I think watching something under the guise of, this was 20 years ago or 15 years ago, it still works for me. But you know what else? What was another line I love? A joke that I actually laughed out loud so hard I had to rewind the movie. Was when Donkey finds the princess as the ogre for the first time, and then they're talking, and he's like, "Oh, come on, look, it's not that bad. I mean, look, you're not that ugly. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. You are ugly." I laughed so hard. Because I feel like I remembered laughing at that as a kid, but I had forgotten about it until now. But oh my god, that delivery killed me.
I got destroyed when Shrek is kicking ass in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And it turns into like a wrestling scene, and one of the commoners just yells, "Give him the chair!" And it sent me into tears. And he grabs a folding chair out of nowhere and starts kicking ass.
Well, dude, WWF, man, joke. That was like around the time that it was still fucking like
that's a wonderful joke.
Just killing it. It is a wonderful joke.
It's very left field. That's
dude.
Funny.
I that's what I love about the movie too. I agree with you. Totally, it's got two left feet, but the message is human, and it's so simple. Don't judge a book by its cover, and there's more. There's more to a person than what you usually see. Layers. Like I thought there were some really smart scenes and like legitimately well written. Like I love ogres are like layers. I love that scene so much.
And everyone remembers that. I mean, everyone remembers it for a reason too. It's very good. It's a good scene.
It's a great scene.
And it builds their friendship between Shrek and Donkey, which is very, very good and carries most of the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think that scene's awesome. I think the scene where they do the dating game with the three princesses is fucking hilarious.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I don't think it's like laugh a minute comedy.
No, but
the
there's
stuff that's funny is very funny.
Oh yeah, and dude, and by the way, Lord Farquaad, when he's talking to the mirror and he says, "Show Princess Fiona again right before bed," he's gonna jerk off to her before he goes to sleep.
That's a good point. Yeah,
like that's definitely
he's
what's
gonna
happening.
tear it off.
Yeah, he's gonna tear it off because it cuts to the next morning, and I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely beat off before he went to sleep.
Oh yeah,
like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, he
again
shot it into the
so
sheets
much innuendo in this movie, so many sex jokes. It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of that. There's a couple good jokes where Shrek talks about his ass and he's referring to Donkey, which is a great way to smuggle.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. I've got to save my ass. Yeah. Also, when Shrek is sliding down the pillar in the castle and he hits his dong, and it cuts to his close up and he's like, ugh, and his eyes cross or whatever. But yeah, man,
I don't have a problem with that humor. I don't think it's too juvenile. I don't
think it is either.
I don't know. I just don't have a problem with it the way I could see some people being like, oh, this is like lowbrow bullshit. I think it's pretty awesome. I think scenes like the egg scene kind of elevate it beyond just dick and fart jokes. I love dick and fart jokes.
Yeah.
So.
No, there's smart humor in this movie, and again, and I think I don't know. I feel like I heard Chris Rock say this once that like you need a lot of heart for the dopey stuff to work. And there's definitely dopey stuff in Shrek, but there's a lot of heart, and there's heart pretty early in the first 10 minutes maybe, when he's eating alone and you kind of see his life, what it's like alone, and there's the the cello playing, and it's like it's weird because it's not like he's not, and what I love that what the animators did is like Shrek's not sad, but he's not really happy either. He's just living, like this is his life.
He doesn't know any different.
He doesn't know any different, but we're looking at it through an objective lens, and we can see like, oh, he is alone. And how you feel about that is, I guess, up to you. But I thought that was a really smart choice that the filmmakers and screenwriters made. And I think that, again, I think that maybe this ushered in some different animated movies that were just a lot of like cheap jokes that didn't have a lot of heart. But like, you need heart for silly stuff to work. I mean, if you look at movies like Borat and Superbad and This Is the End, even, I mean, it's like those movies, they have serious heart. I know you said, I don't know if you're gonna watch it, but you really should, man. Bo Burnham's special, it has so much heart, and it is hilarious. It's one of the best things I've seen in a very long time. Like, dude, I could
not have had a more opposite reaction to watching.
How far into it did you get?
I think maybe 6 minutes.
Okay, try.
I wanted to
watching.
die.
You're all right. Well, then we might just be different with that.
I know that you live and work in LA and are contractually obligated to not hate stuff like that, but oh my
dude,
God.
no, I'm telling you, I'll give you an example right now. I just saw In the Heights, like the movie that everybody.
I'm gonna hate that. I'm probably gonna see it this weekend. I can already tell I'm gonna hate it.
The movie that everybody's talking about, great reviews, whatever. I thought it was good. I genuinely was like, this is good, but I didn't go crazy for it like everyone else is going for it. I honestly thought Bo Burnham's special was better. Like I thought it was. I thought it was more. I thought it was like more technically impressive than In the Heights. Like what he pulled off by himself is a fucking miracle. And there were definitely some scenes in The Heights where I was like, how the fuck did they do that? That's great. But I thought Bo Burnham's special was amazing. But anyway, again, Shrek is a great example of a movie that has a lot of silly and a lot of heart. And I don't know, that's the type of stuff that's some of the type of stuff that I really love. And
well, contrast it with Angel Eyes.
Right.
Shrek, clear stakes,
yeah,
clear narrative thrust. Even scenes that are kind of left field, like Robin Hood, are funny and compelling enough where it doesn't derail the story.
Right.
Actually has a pretty good theme that's pulled through the whole way. And
for adults,
it doesn't
and
overstay
kids.
its welcome.
Yeah, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like a quick 80-something minutes. Angel Eyes is over an hour and a half. Too
feels
long.
Like 3.
It doesn't even feel like counter programming. It just feels like a bad fucking choice.
It just seems like it got dumped. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is a money laundering scheme.
Yeah, it definitely was a money laundering scheme. The fact that Franchise Pictures. So what happened to them?
They lost that and other lawsuits and went under, and all their assets got shifted to like Warner Brothers to just get dumped.
It probably was a money laundering scheme. And again, Shrek probably stole all of its audience anyway.
Yeah,
because no matter when a movie comes out like Shrek and it's like and it gets great reviews and it makes tons of money, like like certain movies every once in a while it's like where even if they're not, I mean Shrek probably was designed to play like a 4-quadrant movie, but like even if certain movies aren't designed that way, if they get enough buzz, they will play that way.
Sure.
Like The Hangover played that way because it was just like everybody was talking about it. You got to see it, and like, I don't know. I think Shrek is absolutely still good. I think it's great, and I think Angel Eyes, no one should waste their time with it. It's funny how opposite like these two movies are. Like this is kind of what we're talking about with counter programming of like this is an exciting episode for us because it's like we watched two movies that opened on the same day 20 years ago, and holy shit, one is so worth your time, and one is bury it 6 feet under, and never think about it again.
Yeah, it's shocking. I wish I didn't like Shrek as much as I do. Honestly, it's so populist.
It's great.
It's so well known.
Right.
I wish there was something I could hold on to where like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. It sucked. It's fucking awesome. I'm charmed by it. I laughed. Awesome. It's funny.
Yeah.
I could watch it again immediately. If
too.
I had a kid that was into this, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
If we have kids, I'll be like, hell yeah, dude. Wait till you see Shrek. Like it's gonna be great. Thanks for listening, guys. You can find us at Still Good Show on Instagram. Please follow us on Spotify and subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I keep forgetting to call it Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. And you can find us stillgoodshow.com. We will see you next time for more summer movie talk, and we'll have some other fun episodes for you along the way. Bear, any final words before I give the classic sign-off?
Don't watch Angel Eyes. Just don't do it. I know we talk about things we don't like, and sometimes people are tempted to do it. I like things that are bad, and I hated this. It's not that kind of movie.
I couldn't agree more. For Bear Kennedy, I'm Andrew Carter.